How's it going, guys, and welcome back to Appetite Homemade. I'm Paul, and today we're going to be making a gypsy tart. Let's take a look. So if you're not aware of what a gypsy tart is, it's basically just one of your common tarts, pastry bottom, and the filling is an evaporated milk and a soft brown sugar. So this originates from the county of Kent, my home county, and it originates from a part of Kent called the Isle of Sheppey. The least said about that, the better, and I'm not going to incriminate myself anymore. So why don't we get down on the table, we'll have a look on where to start. So, the next bit we've got to do, I say the next bit, the first bit we've got to do is the pastry. The pastry's pretty simple. We've got 300 grams of plain flour, half fat to that flour, so 150 grams of unsalted butter. We've got 1 beaten egg, and some lukewarm water. So the first thing you want to do is start off by sifting the flour just to get out any lumps or sort of impurities that you don't want in there. Makes it a little bit nicer to work with. Cool. Flour in. Next we've got the butter. This is just softened butter, sort of room temperature. Dump that straight in. Now this is where you need your nan hands, your pastry hands, because you want to work that butter into the flour until it starts resembling a fine breadcrumb. So you don't want to melt the butter because you need it to incorporate in. And you need to get all the fat worked in, otherwise you're going to have fat sort of left in your pastry and it won't give you a good product when you cook it. So we just keep going with that. Just using your fingers. I know it's time consuming, but that's what it's all about. Doing it all homemade. So obviously you can go out and buy one of them just roll pastries. Sort of pre-done, frozen, defrost. Works just as well, obviously. Better if you're on a limit, like a time limit, but I mean this doesn't take long. Once the butter starts working in, doesn't take long at all. Obviously you can do this on a food mixer as well. If you've got like a KitchenAid or something like that. Obviously you can use that. And you ain't got to get your hands dirty either. Modern technology. So I'm just going to carry on with this. So there you go, guys. It's been another 2-3 minutes maybe from when I left you. That's all the butter incorporated into that flour. If you can see the colour change, well, not there's a sort of obviously the texture's changed. All that butter's worked in nicely. It will sort of change smell as well. It will smell quite rich, almost. I always quite find it like a rich smell, almost like an indulgent smell. But for next, we need to create a well in the middle. Now you can use a fork for the next bit, or a wooden spoon, just to start it off. Drop our egg in. Start working that through. You'll feel it sort of come together. And then yes, when you want to get your hands in, and then just slowly add little bits at a time of water, just to bring it together. So this is the messy, sticky bit. So if you're not into that, either get someone else to do it or get technology to do it. Ooh, keep the pastry in the bowl though, yeah? Now you notice I haven't really sweetened this pastry either, because I always find that obviously Gypsy Tart is evaporated milk and sugar, so it's very rich anyway, so you don't really need too much sweetness in your dough personally. See that? That's together. What you want to do is remove any unwanted items from your work surface. Bit of flour in hands. We're not needing it to work any gluten through because we don't want this. We don't want the elasticity that the gluten will give you for a bread dough. We're just bringing it together into a bowl. Then we're going to wrap that. You want to leave that in the fridge for a good 30 minutes to let it rest up. So, while your pastry is resting, you can get your oven preheated. You want to go 170 fan, 190 non-fan, about gas mark 5. So, pastry's resting, oven's preheating. What you can do next is, we can grease our tin. Now you want to use, ideally, a tin with like one of the sort of releasable bottoms, just makes life easier. I'm going to be using a silicone mould today, because I don't have a tin. How did you guess? You just want to get that greased up. Just use the same butter as you did earlier. Good pinch. Start greasing all of the bottom, all of the sides. Ready for the pastry. So that's our mould all greased there. Just put it to one side. We'll get the pastry out, we'll get it rolled, we'll get it in the tin ready to go. So I've refloured the surface, pastry's out. Grab yourself a rolling pin. Just give that a little flour. So everything's nice and floured. We're just going to start rolling out the pastry. Nice even strokes across the pastry. Turning as we go. Keeping the side and all of your items sort of well floured as you go. Keeping even pressure as you go. You want to try and get this down to sort of the thickness of a pound coin. That's what we're kind of looking at, so a couple of mil. And obviously we need it big enough to fit our mould. There we go. Bring your tray or your mould or whatever in one more time just to double check. Flour. Flour. So to get this up, you want your rolling pin, start at the back, roll it towards you, bring your mould in, up and over. Then start pressing in, just using sort of the flat of your knuckle, between the tip of your finger and your knuckles. And also another cheeky trick, we take some of the excess pastry, roll that into a ball. Using the pastry, get that down into the corner. So you want to lift the pastry at the edge, and then using your excess bit of pastry, use that to squeeze that into them corners. So, obviously we've got all this excess pastry. We're going to nip that off with just a knife. Now, again, like I said earlier, if you was using an actual cake tin, you could use your rolling pin sort of with a bit of pressure over the top, just like that, to help nip the ends. Obviously this is a silicone mould, so we can't do that. So we're going to grab our knife, and we'll have to just use the edge of the tape, like the edge of the work surface. Get as much excess off. Next thing you want to do is give it a few pricks with a fork on the bottom. Take some greaseproof paper. So use more greaseproof paper than you need, because we're going to make what we call a cartouche. So we fold in half, fold in half. So you go widthways, lengthways, then you're left with a square. And then we go corner to corner to make like an arrowhead, and then you can go one more. Use the point to line up roughly with the middle. Obviously we want this because we're going to blind bake it, so we're going to be using baking beans. So we need to lift that out at the end of the cooking process. So I'm going to go a couple of inches back. Tear off the excess, and you're left with a nice round bit of paper. And that's used for with like tops of sauces and things like that, if you're trying to get skins and stuff. Well, if you don't want the skin. So, beans in. Like I said, the oven's preheated. We want to bake this for a good sort of 15 minutes to get the pastry initially cooked. Then we take the beans out, stick it back in for a few more minutes just to dry it out. Okay. So while our pastry case is in the oven, just blind baking away, you can get ready and start setting up the things you need for the filling. So we need 1 can of evaporated milk, and 300 grams of dark, soft brown sugar. You can use muscovado sugar, you can also use condensed milk in the recipe. There's a few different recipes, but they all pretty much work the same. Also, while that's in the oven, baking away, it's a perfect time to make yourself a cup of coffee, because, you know, the world lives on coffee. And it's the perfect opportunity for me to say thank you for watching. Please make sure you like the video if you're liking it. Subscribe to the channel. And if you've got any other ideas for future recipes you want me to try, stick them in that comment section below. I will have a look, see what I can do. I mean, yeah, or even any questions, fire away. So the timer's just gone off for the pastry case. We're going to get that out now. So now that that's out, we've got to take the beans out, and then we'll just check the bottom of the actual base itself, and we'll throw it back in. Might need a couple more minutes. That's our pastry case, guys. I mean, you might be able to see on camera, it's still a little bit wet in some of these places, but the beans have done their job, sort of held it down. So I've taken the beans out, I've put them into a separate tray. Then these baking beans are like clay balls, they are very hot. So that's why it's important to use something like the greaseproof paper or something equivalent, so you can pick that straight out. Like I said, I've just put them into a baking tray to one side so they can cool down before I put them away, because they are roasting. Okay, so we're going to put this back in for a few more minutes just to dry that bottom out. So I've just taken the pastry case back out of the oven. It's been in there for about another 8 or 9 minutes just to dry that bottom back out. What you want to do next is just put it aside to cool for 15 to 20 minutes, and whilst that's cooling, we can start working on the filling. So for the filling, you're going to need your can of evaporated milk straight into a bowl. Your sugar, like I said, 300 grams of dark brown. Remove the excess, and then we want to beat this up for a good 15 minutes, and it should go quite light, fluffy, almost like coffee coloured. Start it off slow. So we are about 5 or 6 minutes through so far. As you can see, pretty much doubled in size. You can see some of the thickness there. We're just going to keep going for another 10 minutes or so, and then we'll come back. So that is our 15 minutes up. As you can see, we've over doubled in size. We've got a very nice shine to it. And that's what we're looking for. Sort of a very light coffee colour, or the colour of a cup of tea that you'd disown a friend for giving you. We've got a nice dropping consistency. I can't do it with that way. Let me get a spoon. Let me get a spoon. There you go. So with all the air incorporated, you should be able to couple of figure of eights, and it should just about hold itself there for a couple of seconds. Lovely. So next up, that's my bit. Next up, we need to get that into there, and then into there. Pastry case done, filling done. Grab yourself a spatula. I have to order that. And start dropping in. Fill it quite near the top. It's going to sort of rise a little, so you can get away with enough in there, and there's a lot of that left over. There you go. Where is it there? There we go. So, a couple of little taps. We'll get that in the oven. And the same setting that we was on, so 170 fan, 190 non-fan, that gas Mark 5. That's going to go in that oven for another sort of 15-ish minutes. It might vary depending on your oven. And then what you're looking for is a nice tacky top, but it's still going to be soft because then we need to let it cool. So let's get this in the oven. So there's that tart out of the oven. As you can see, slightly press it. Top's just got a light crust on top, sort of tacky to the touch, and it does have a slight wobble. So what we're going to do is we're going to let that cool there for a few minutes before it goes in the fridge to set for a good couple of hours. But whilst we're doing that, we're going to knock up some chantilly cream for when this is finished. So let's get on with that. So for our chantilly cream, we've got some double cream or heavy cream or whipping cream, because no one can decide what it's called. Cream in, some vanilla extract, about a teaspoon, and then some icing sugar, and this will flail up everywhere. A good couple of tablespoons of icing sugar. I'm going to sift that through. Again, same as the flour, so get out any impurities that might be in there, any lumps and bumps. Grab a whisk. Don't go too mental to start with, because otherwise you're just going to throw that icing sugar everywhere. And then just start whisking away. You can tip the bowl, getting all the corners. Not that there'll be many corners in a round bowl. I'm hoping you can see that. So it's starting to come to a soft peak. So if you lift it, it's just not holding itself enough. It's just flopping over like a 99. So you want to go a little bit further. There you go, that's what we're looking for. It's not quite right, is it? Just want to, as you lift your whisk, you just want it to hold to a stiff peak. And then we're going to transfer that in just to a smaller bowl, leave it in the fridge until we need it. Good morning guys, and welcome back to day 2 of the Gypsy Tart. So it's been in the fridge overnight just to set. It could have come out about 4 or 5 hours later, but I left it in there overnight to give it a nice and good set. All I've done is I've taken it off or out of that silicone mould. So let's take it over. We could probably get a portion out of it now. We'll set one up. Oh, don't that look sensational. So I've got a sharp knife. We've got a jug of hot water. Dunk it straight in, wipe your knife off, keeps it nice and warm, and it should give you a nice straight edge when you cut into it. And you can use that method with like most cheesecakes or cakes. Look at that! Can you tell that I'm excited? Let's get another. So there it is, guys. That is our gypsy tart with a chantilly cream, dusted with icing sugar, and some blackberries at the back there. So there you go, guys. That's our gypsy tart done. It looks fantastic from my angle. I bet it's going to taste fantastic as well. A few processes in this one, but nothing really too difficult that no one could do. Pastry is nice and simple, as long as you let that rest. You know, that's half the battle. The mixture takes a little bit of time for the actual filling, but again, it's only whisking together, so there's nothing in there that no one could do. So I want people to try it, and then let me know down in the comments below if you've tried it or not. But let's get into it. Go straight for that. A little bit of that cream. Oh, that. That's fantastic. Now, gypsy tart is my second favourite dessert. It might be my first favourite dessert at some point, but really rich from that filling with the evaporated milk, really creamy. Obviously the sugar just makes it really sweet, almost caramelly, obviously from the brown sugar. Chantilly cream, nice and sweet, nice and vanilla-y. Crust, nice and thin across the bottom. Let's go again. That's a winner. That's an absolute winner. Well, like I said, guys, if you want to try that, let me know if you do. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of it. If you got anything else you want me to try, let me know down in the comments below. I'll leave the ingredients list for that in the description box. Other than that, nothing else for me to say other than please like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel for more instructional cooking videos. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.